Coming up, Luis Arraez is back above 400. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over all of the action for you from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. We thank you, as always, for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Giants made a ninth-inning comeback and beat the Padres on Monday in San Fran. Our Locked On hosts have more after the comeback win.
Mike Yastrzemski walk-off home run into the water. The San Francisco Giants had no business winning this game, and they beat the Padres. I don't even know what the score was. This is Ben Caspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. They had no business winning this game. They're down 4-0, and look, they've made a habit of this. They were down to their last strike against the Cardinals about a week ago, and Mike Yastrzemski hit a 2-run homer to tie it. They were down 4-0 to the Dodgers in the first game of their sweep of LA. And then here, starting out the homestand, playing a good Padres team that's trying to get over the hump. They were down 4-0 again, and 2 solo homers, and then 2 in the ninth. Huge rally. Patrick Bailey ties it up with a sac fly. Doval a scoreless top of the 10th. And Yaz puts one in the drink in the bottom of the 10th. Just unbelievable. This team is on fire. They've been the best team in baseball for well over a month. So we're going to break this one down tomorrow on Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
The Cardinals came back from an early 5-0 deficit against the Nationals to win their third game in a row yesterday. Locked On Nationals has more on the loss for Washington.
The Cardinals had to punch back again today against the Nationals, and in the end, they were the last one standing. Hey, it's JD from Locked On Cardinals, and the Cardinals starter, Jack Flaherty, was absolutely terrible for the first 2 innings today. The Nationals lit him up, 5 runs on 8 hits, and the Cardinals were in a 5-0 hole early, but then something just kind of clicked with Flaherty, and he ends up throwing up zeros over the next 4 frames, giving the Cardinals offense a chance to get back into it, which they did. Highlighted in the 4th inning when they get back-to-back jacks. First, a 3-run shot by Brendan Donovan to tie the game, followed by a solo blast by Paul Goldschmidt. And just like that, the Cardinals have the lead, and they would never relinquish it, thanks to strong pen work from Cabrera, Gallegos, and Hicks, and would go on to win their 3rd game in a row and complete their largest comeback win of the season. For the latest updates and info, be sure to keep it Locked On Cardinals.
The Nationals lose 8-6 to the St. Louis Cardinals. Ryan Clary from Locked On Nationals here. It was not a pretty game. You started off hot, you get that 5-0 lead, and then, you guessed it, we blew it. Simple. It's simple. Josiah Gray didn't have his A stuff. The Nationals offense, they came in, they produced, they did what we needed them to do, and specifically that's Luis Garcia, 4 RBIs today. Really good day for the kid. C.J. Abrams, multiple hits as well. Lane Thomas, multiple hits as well. Corey Dickerson added a 2-run RBI in his game as well. But here's the thing. I don't know what to do. Plain and simple, I don't know what to do. This team, it was fun. I don't know what happened. 4 straight losses. Not good.
Luis Arraez went 5 for 5 yesterday to move back above 400 on the season. The Marlins blew out the Blue Jays in the process. Locked On Blue Jays tells us what went wrong for Toronto.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. I'm taping this at 10-0 Marlins in the 7th inning. I've gone ahead and invoked my own mercy rule. Everything was ugly tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays, but fear not, as John Schneider will surely appease us after this game by assuring us that things will be tightened up soon around here. Yeah, we'll hear that spiel, I'm sure, for the trillionth time already this season coming up after this game. My goodness, it was a brutal road trip with no energy last season that ended up being the final nail in Charlie Montoyo's coffin. Could John Schneider be on the hot seat? Now, it is tough to root for somebody to lose their job, yes, but Blue Jay baseball means a lot to me, and everydayers know I was staunchly opposed to Schneider's hiring from day one. I'm talking about when there were even rumors that the Blue Jays were looking to bring this guy back. I'm talking about day one. I was massively opposed to bringing back John Schneider as the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. Ben Ennis from Sportsnet is on the Locked On Blue Jay podcast tomorrow, plus it's Trivia Tuesday, so check it out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.
Coming up, the Reds' hot streak has them leading in the NL Central. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Gametime. Buying tickets last minute should not be stressful. That's why Gametime is the best place for you to get those tickets. There's a Gametime guarantee that means you will always get the best price. If you find the tickets in the same section and the row for less somewhere else, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. What you need to do is download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $20 off your first order. Terms do apply, but you can create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. The Reds extended their win streak to 9 games. They now lead the NL Central after beating the Rockies yesterday. Locked On Reds recaps another win for the hottest team in the league.
Joseph Daniel Votto still bangs. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast. And the Cincinnati Reds have won 9 games in a row. There is no more fun team in baseball than the Cincinnati Reds. The Colorado Rockies found that out tonight. There was solo home runs all over the place. Kevin Newman got us started off. You had a solo shot. I mean, that was a bomb from Nick Senzel. But Joey Votto owned the night. He comes back, 2 hits, the go-ahead RBIs in the 8th inning. Absolutely amazing stuff. They got a shot for the 10th win, the longest winning streak or tied this century for the Cincinnati Reds. If they win tomorrow night, we're going to be all over it on the next Locked On Reds podcast.
4 wins over the Pirates in the last week have kept the Cubs in the race for the Central. Their latest was an 8-0 rout over Pittsburgh on Monday. Locked On Cubs recaps the shutout.
Cubs stay hot as they blow out the Pirates once again for the 4th time in about 6-7 days. They win 8-0 against the Pirates. Drew Smyly grinded through this outing. 5 shutout innings, but it was really tough work. He had a really hard time getting out McCutchen and Reynolds. Walked a lot of batters, but pitched around trouble. Mike Tauchman continues to be one of the best stories of the season for the Chicago Cubs. He has been unbelievable. His on-base percentage is over .420. He had 3 more hits today, drove in 3 more runs. He really was the catalyst for the offense. Nico Horner added an RBI hit. Seiya Suzuki added an RBI double late. And the Cubs kind of cruised tonight. They are rolling. They've won 6 of their last 7. They've run 9 of their last 11. So hopefully they can continue playing good baseball and climb up the NL Central standings.
The Astros lost their 5th game in a row after a blowout to the Mets on Monday night, and Locked On Astros tries to figure out what's wrong with the reigning champs.
It was a homecoming. There was joy. There were cheers, memories of 17 and 22. Justin Verlander was handed his ring. This was going to be a great game. Hunter Brown, Justin Verlander 2.0 was going to show the Mets a thing or two. But the Mets had other plans. After 2 no-hit innings by both pitchers, the Mets put up a 5 spot. And Francisco Lindor, who's batting .212, hit a home run. Vogelback hit a home run. The Mets scored 11 runs. The Astros had 1 run, Yanner Diaz, the lone solo shot. Everything else just wasn't happening. This team is in a funk. This team has lost, 5 games in a row after a sweep of the Reds, by the Reds. There's no end in sight right now. They are struggling. They put a rookie pitcher out on the mound later in the game. Sean Dubin gave up several runs. A tough outing. They got to come back and face Justin Verlander in Game 2.
The White Sox have lost their 7th of their last 9 games by losing the series opener to the Rangers on Monday, keeping the Southsiders more than 5 games out in a division with no teams above 500. Locked On White Sox tries to figure out what's exactly holding Chicago back from figuring things out.
The Chicago White Sox lost 5-2 to the Texas Rangers on the South Side Monday night. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked On White Sox. It was the same old from the Chicago White Sox, 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. It was a bullpen game. Bullpen didn't do terrible, but, it's the Texas Rangers, a really good team beating a really bad team. Sox had a few more solo home runs. They've now hit 9 straight solo home runs. Sox fall to 12 games under 500, but are still just 5.5 games out in the AL Central. Dylan Cease on the mound Tuesday night for the White Sox. 4 more check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
That's it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. As always, we thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.